Go.
Welcome to Buying Numbers, guys. My name is Numayr Malik. Today we're talking about instant gratification, and I'm with my good friend Josh.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
So, Josh, what are your views on instant gratification right now?
Well, instant gratification, we're kind of looking at the topic where we're going from a society, if you look into like the 1800s, where everything is like long term. If you want to gain fulfillment in your job, in relationships, anything you want or desire, generally takes a long time to do it. Nowadays, because of all the technology and the information era, we have everything when we want it, however we want it. Everything is kind of instant access. If you look into if you want to go on a date, then you just swipe right and you end up going on a date. If you want something, an actual material item, then you just go onto Amazon. You got Amazon Prime. It's going to arrive in a brown box the next day on your doorstep. There's a couple of issues that revolve around this kind of concept where we no longer have the ability, as especially the younger generation like you and I, the ability to delay gratification. But all of the important things in life come with like a long-term success. If you want to get fit and you're not very in the position to be fit, then you need to go and work out. But the working out doesn't take a day. You can't just go on a 6-hour workout and expect a six-pack at the end. You need to work out 15 minutes every single day. If you want to have white teeth, then you need to be brushing your teeth 2 times a day for 2 minutes every single day for your whole life. You can't just do it for 6 hours, right? So it's this everything that we admire and love in life, everything takes time. Job fulfillment is another thing. We have a lot of people, and Simon Sinek is, I think, the most famous person currently for saying this sort of thing, and kind of pointing it out to people. But job fulfillment is an issue where lots of people are coming out of university and they end up going through 5, 6, 7 jobs, and all within the first couple of years. And if you kind of go and ask these people, what's the reason for changing jobs? Why don't you want to stay in the same job or career? They end up saying things like, I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel like I'm making an impact. But job fulfillment is like relationships. You don't just go on a date and you love somebody, and there's not a specific, defined, measurable point in which you're able to say, I love this person, or I love my job, or I feel like I'm making an impact. You can have measurable KPIs, key performance indicators in your job that say, actually, I achieved this or I achieved that, but that's not fulfillment. The same way in love, you can say, oh, we had our first night together, we've slept together, we've kissed or been on the first date and things like this. But if you look into a relationship and you say, and Simon Sinek explained this, you say, I went on a date, Numayr. I went on a date yesterday. The girl was amazing. I think I'm in love. What would you say to me? You'd be like,
I'd say wait it out a bit.
yeah, you wait it out a bit. I'm not going to be in love in one day, one 3-hour period. You don't know the person enough. You don't have the time to build up the emotion or experiences with that person. Then if I say to you, I've been with this girl for 15 years, what would you, and we're just girlfriend and boyfriend, what would you say?
I'd say you should see where you're at this relationship because it's been a long time.
Yeah, so you'd kind of think, actually, you probably should be married or progress and have kids or something. So
Yeah.
we know that in 3 hours, you can't love somebody. You tell me you go on a couple more dates. We know that in 15 years, it's likely you're in deep love, you should have children, you should be married. So it's not going to be a situation that after a set period of time, you fall in love. You don't wake up one morning and say, I love this person. It's repeated effort every single day, working hard. It's when you wake up in the morning, you turn to your partner and you tell them you love them and you cuddle them rather than looking at your phone first. It's every single day when you go to make yourself a drink, you then make your partner a drink as well without even asking them or them asking you. So love, deep, meaningful relationships, job fulfillment. The These are a couple of examples that take time and effort to build up. But where we live in a society where everything is given to us so instantly, this is not natural for us, right?
I think personally, I don't think that's right. If you think of the idea, I think as a society we understand that in certain things it takes more time to do, because the things that you're talking about, like that we get instantly due to technology, are rather materialistic or trivial things, like things we don't need.
What about like
So
the idea of swiping right and you just go on a date?
but I think when you do that, you go with the idea that if you're going to fall in love, it's going to take a while. If you're going to get into a deep, meaningful relationship, it won't go like swipe right, power done. It's going to be like,
if you're interested in physics, because that's what you're studying currently, you're doing your master's in physics, you're fascinated with the idea of the moons, the moon and the stars, right? So you want to go and learn more information about that. But you currently live in the 1700s, where the closest bookstore, what do you call it?
the place, library.
That's it.
Library.
the closest library to you is going to be a couple of miles, right? You don't have a car. You can't just get there right now. You don't have internet to go look up the information. You don't have anything. You need to go by foot or horseback to go to that library. Your information itself is not instant. Look at the news. News has completely changed. Back 20 years ago, newspapers were such a big thing. That's where most people get most of their information from, or someone who's telling you about the news that they read in the newspaper. So all the information you receive is information that is, in today's society, considered historical, right? So now you get updates on Snapchat, on Facebook, on your phone just gives you notifications for news that's happened in America 10 minutes ago. And there's 15 to a million different articles based on what's happened. Back then, information and news spread over a couple of days. Everything needs to be recorded, written by hand. Then it needs to be typed up. Then it needs to be distributed. And that all takes time, right? If you want to send a message back in the 1700s, what did? You write out the message with your little metal ink thing on a bit of paper. You give it to a messenger and they hop on their horse and go. Or they walk for hundreds of miles. Everything is very like instantaneous. It's not just about like materialistic things.
No, but isn't your problem with instant gratification the fact that we, like as a society, expect things too much? But like, in terms of like, obviously in terms of what you're talking about, in terms of technological advancements, we get things quicker. But like, in terms of like things you said, like, oh, I don't, you expect people to love their job straight away. I think people understand that their job might not be the greatest straight away. But certainly I do. Like, it took me a while when I got my first job to really be like, oh, I actually like this job.
Yep.
Because then the way I measured it was like, I got up in the morning and I was like, I wasn't like, oh, I have to go to work. I was like, oh, I'm going to work today.
Yeah. Okay, so how does like instant gratification affect us that maybe you can actually realize? Where is your phone right now? Your mobile phone? Show me.
It's in front of me.
Pick it up. Oh, you're filming.
I'm using it to record.
So if you've been to a restaurant, which you probably have, I know you have because we've been to a restaurant together. The majority of the time, people are going to leave their phone on the table. But here's the problem. There were some studies done, I think, in Stanford University that studied how long it took for people to get into deep thought, like deep creative thought on any kind of topic. And it takes, give or take the average person, about 15 minutes to get into thought. But every 10 seconds, we get a dopamine rush from a notification. So we're always looking at this, right? So when you go into a restaurant, you can see all the people that have their phone on the table. Now, that's just bad in general because you're giving off a vibe that says that your mobile phone is more important than the person that you're with, right? So that subconsciously is a bad idea. But as soon as you get a notification on your phone, you end up looking at that. And that distracts you from the conversation. Now, young people seem to think that they can multitask, but really what we're doing is going from one task to another very quickly. And yeah, we may be better at doing that, but that doesn't take away the point that your brain cannot sustain the creative deep thought once you've now exited kind of that thought process, right? So
Okay.
we have, in comparison to 100 years ago, a lot more distractions, a lot more things in our lives that stop us from being able to do certain things that help us build deep, meaningful relationship, that help us gain job satisfaction, things like this. Um, the mobile phone is an interesting thing, I think, because we get biologically like a dopamine rush, right? Endorphins, these
Yeah.
sort of things. We get chemical reactions based on notifications. So when you're sad, let's say for you're sad, what do you do? What do you do when you're sad?
Buy myself ice cream and watch a movie.
Food. Yeah, not that's probably not so easy back in the 1700s. Okay, when you're sad, you're just sitting at home, you're doing nothing, you're not hungry or anything. What would you do?
Mhm.
A lot of people, they would go onto WhatsApp. They'd message 10 people, hi, 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 and then hope that one person replies. Right?
Okay.
That you've done that before, no?
I generally don't do that,
Okay, I think
but I know people. I know people that do.
yeah. I think many people do that. I certainly
Yeah.
have done that before. But our need for this dopamine rush is addictive because dopamine is an addictive chemical, right?
Mhm.
So when we feel down, we resort to this. In society, we have things that are restricted items that we can't buy. You need to be over the age of 18. You've got drugs, alcohol is a
Mhm.
drug, cigarettes, tobacco. Um, there was another thing that these things are restricted because you gain addiction to it. You get a dopamine rush when you snort some cocaine, right?
Yeah.
Um, the same dopamine rush happens when you get a notification on your phone. The same addiction happens, but there's no restriction in society for the use of a mobile phone, the use of this technology. So we've got all of our kids growing up at the age of like 6 years old that are having this dopamine rush, gaining this addiction that affects so many parts of their life more than what we've already described. But there's no restriction on that. I personally think it's hard to enforce that at a government level, but it's down to like parents um, and probably companies as well to really enforce restrictions in that. You don't have to, if you was to just take away completely technology from a child now, they're going to be so far abstract from society. It's going to be ridiculous. But I think there's like limitations, don't you think?
I think if you think about, I think company-wise, if you look at a lot of mobile phones, they do have systems put in place in their like phones for to be like, oh, child mode, like time restrictions, things like that. But I agree that it is down to the parents because parents, it might like definitely don't do enough. Like if you walk around, you see, like I have a big grass patch right outside my house, and I remember when I was like 10, we used to play on that grass patch every day. There is no one there right now,
Yeah. Yeah, I
which is
remember the same
like,
thing actually. I have a couple of like just down the road from me, a couple of grass patches where I promise you, we used to spend all day. We come home from school, we go outside, and we play football. We would kick that ball against
yes,
that garage
exactly.
wall every single day, and we just had fun together. Now I don't see a single one. We used to go next. I used to walk to my friend's house, knock on the door, and be like, his name was Liam. Another one was Danny. Would go and knock on the door and say to the parents, "Is Danny here? Can he come out to play?" you know. That doesn't happen anymore. You just pick up your phone and be like, "Yo, what's up, Numayr? Do you want to come out, man? Let's go bowling. Let's go do this."
No, it's not even that. It's like people are so away from the idea of even going outside.
Hmm.
It's like they're not like, oh, do you wanna go bowling? Do you wanna do this? They're like, oh, do you wanna jump on a PS4? Do you wanna jump on the Xbox?
Hmm.
Do you wanna play this game together?
Yeah.
And I think that takes like the fact that we can enjoy, like people can like entertain themselves right there, like in their room with whatever they want
Yeah.
without the need to go outside. That is something that does strike as a problem
Yeah.
because you can't like now people aren't appreciating the idea of like going to the park
Hmm.
or like enjoying a good like the problem I have with this is it turns people lazy and unfit.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think that's like for instant gratification, I think this is probably one of the only main issue I have with it. I think in terms of like when we talk about job prospects, job deep meaningful relationships, I think people understand. But in terms of fitness, I think as a society, people are turning more unfit.
I agree, but obviously you need to look at the general population. For you, you're an academic. You
Hmm.
favor uh the idea of going to university, learning, going to get a job, and then working at a job. That's the ideology that you've been brought up in, and that's what you adhere to, right? But there's
Yeah,
lots of people the way that doesn't actually work best for them.
yeah,
The education system doesn't work best for them. They don't like the idea of working underneath a manager, things like this.
hmm,
And when they join a company, they also don't gain fulfillment straight away. For you,
hmm.
maybe your background allows you to realize that you need to work longer in that, but maybe your background also doesn't allow you to see, actually, all of the people in my family work out every single day, right?
Hmm.
Therefore I should be doing that. Maybe that for you that doesn't happen, in which case your vision of society in this specific topic is going to be that actually there's not a problem with job prospect, but there's a problem with the fitness. Do you think that's your own personal bias?
I think the fitness aspect more comes on the idea that I see people around me. Like the way I live in I don't live in per se a street. I live more in a block. So I'm interacting with my neighbors. Like I can see them left and right,
Yeah, yeah.
and I can see them in front of me. So I can see them all the time, and I see these people, and they're just not. Let's say they're not bringing any fitness into their lives.
Yeah.
Like in terms of my family, I'd say especially the younger generation more than the older generation are a lot more fitness minded.
Mm-hmm.
So I think most people in my family, like my brother, my sister, my cousin, have all gone through some sort of weight loss because we had a realization that we have to lose weight.
Are you comparing yourself, your current generation, to the previous generation? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
You are.
Yeah.
Do you know if they also went through the same weight loss or was fit or did work out when they was younger? Because obviously it's hard to
Uh
compare yourself now to
yeah,
them. They're like
I
45, right?
I do. But it's surely it's the idea that you should be able to hold it out, keep it up, you know.
Are you on camera right now promising you can hold it out until 45, working
Huh?
out and staying fit?
I think I'm on camera right now saying that I would try my best to stay fit
Yeah, yeah.
because I think once you turn unfit, then it becomes then it goes into a bad spiral.
Hmm.
So
A completely different topic and interesting that we'll probably talk about in another video, but the idea of planning and in the future is a lot easier psychologically for us than doing it in the present.
mhm,
So a lot of things that we do in the present is easy, and we want everything done in the present as gratification instantly. Um, we don't want to do that in the future, so it's easy for us to say things that are much more beneficial for us in the future and that we're going to do it, rather than if you just say to me right now, okay, I'm going to go work out, the
yeah,
chances of you saying that right now, you know and understand the reasons why or the opportunity cost of going to work out now. I mean, you're not going to
yeah,
be studying. You've then got to go put in the effort, and you might not be bothered, right?
yeah,
Those things still apply in the future. However, currently you're not thinking about the future, right? You're not
okay,
thinking about the present in the future. So I think
yeah,
that's also difficult to do in a sense of your parents defending your
all right.
parents' parents you're defending your parents' point of view and maybe their lack of
Mm.
exercising, right?
Yeah, because I did talk to my parents about this a while back, and the main thing they said is they were like um they had kids,
Yeah,
so life became a lot more busy,
right.
which does make sense in a way. But I think in terms of like if you think about the idea of staying fit, it's not working out like an hour a day. It's like literally just like 15 minutes, get something in, eat well, and you're all right.
Preaching, yep.
So I think in terms of also we're also tangenting. We're having on a huge tangent from instant gratification. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Carry on.
But it's on the idea that all you have is 15 minutes, a good diet, and you're doing that consistently.
So why doesn't most people do it?
Because the enjoyment you have from eating something that's completely shit, and then you got an addiction to eating that shit thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
loads of times.
Okay, if you wanted to get fit, and you didn't want to change your diet, what would you have to do?
You have to exercise more.
And
but wouldn't you say that food is, I'd say 70% of getting fit, in my opinion.
I mean, the quickest way and easiest way to get fit would mean that you control your diet and you control your exercise. Now, controlling your diet then becomes whatever statistic it is, 70%, whatever. Then, yeah, it's more important. But if you want to keep your diet the same, I've got a friend who works in McDonald's. He works out every single day. He puts a lot of effort in, weight training. He doesn't really do much cardio, but his body is like the thing that everybody kind of dreams of, right? But he eats burgers, he eats chips, he eats all sorts of shit, huge amounts of calories, but he burns it off, right? So that, I don't think that's the reason why most people do it. I think people want the results. People want to go to heaven, but they don't want to die. You know, people want to have a six pack, but they don't want to do some crunches. People want to get rich, but they're not willing to put in the effort. People want to pay rise, but they don't want to work the job before they get the job, right? I think that all revolves around instant gratification. I think there's so many parts in society and issues that we have that change our lives because we're used to everything so instantly. When's the last time you read a book that's not educational for your masters?
10 years ago.
10 years ago. Okay, when's the last time you flicked through small snippets of things like Twitter? What's the character length maximized on Twitter?
I don't know. I don't use Twitter.
Okay, it's something like 300 or 400 characters, right?
Yeah.
All your news feeds are all short and snappy. That's because, I mean, it catches the eye naturally as a human being, but also we flick through everything. We are subjected to constantly, one after another, lots of that. Most people spend more time on Netflix scrolling through the thing than watching an actual film.
That is true. Okay, yes.
We gain pleasure by seeing lots of small snippets of things and then moving on to the next thing. We can't hold our attention. How many times do you go sit in a family thing? I know you do like family meetings or whatever on a Sunday, but how many times do you do that and there's always somebody on their phone that's not participating in the conversation? I don't know.
No, fairly often. Yeah, fairly often.
Yeah. But if you look back into and think about the effects that may have on the family or the relationship, as opposed to back in the 1700s, they didn't have a TV. Everybody would sit around a fire and they just talk and communicate and build up relationships, or they're sitting in the tavern because that's the only place of entertainment, right? Wouldn't you agree that all these things have impacts on our relationships, on the things that actually are important?
Yes. Okay, fine. Yeah, I'll go with that one. Actually.
Okay, you know, we'll cut it off here. I love that you finally said fine with a huge smile on your face. This is the Burning Numbers podcast. We'll catch you in the next one.